We're doing a meal planning workshop, a thyroid-healthy meal planning workshop with Ginny Mahar of Hypothyroid Chef. Um, Ginny is a trained chef and a Hashimoto's patient herself and has been a longtime patient advocate. And she's a health and cooking coach. So there's truly no one better to do this with us. Ginny, I'll let you tell everyone a bit more about who you are and how you got, into the space and what excites you about helping other thyroid thrivers. So without further ado, Ginny, I will pass it over to you to tell us about you and Hypothyroid Chef and how we can easily and successfully plan for thyroid healthy eating.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here because this is one of my favorite topics and such a huge part of just the day-to-day how of thyroid healthy living and eating. So thank you so much, Katie, and to the Paloma team for having me. And thank you all for joining and watching today. It's just great to have these gathering spaces, hosted by Paloma so that we can raise our awareness and our inspiration. And I just feel like I always enjoy partnering with Paloma because I'm so grateful to the organization for raising the standard of care for thyroid patients. So thanks so much for having me. I'm going to screen share because I'll be telling everybody a little bit about myself with that too. So don't want to bore everyone by repeating my story too many times. Okay. All right. Thyroid healthy meal prep and planning is absolutely one of my favorite topics because, as you were saying, it can be hard to actually do the meal planning. It feels intimidating and overwhelming, and it really is simple. And it's one of those things that, a little extra preparation in the beginning can just make this so much more doable. And the power of that can be life-changing. It certainly was for me, as I'll share with everybody throughout this little presentation. But we're going to cover how to make thyroid healthy eating your new normal without spending all day in the kitchen. I always want to stress that because I think people hear the chef part and they're like, oh, great. These are going to be recipes that take all day to prepare. And I'm a busy working mom. Nobody wants to do that. This is about eating consistently, like thyroid healthy meals throughout the day. And we need that to be accessible, quick and easy and doable. So that is what I want to help you with and inspire you to be able to do today. So we'll cover 3 different meal planning systems, including the one that I've been using since 2015 that has just made thyroid healthy cooking and eating like my new normal, my family's normal. I honestly I feel like I take it for granted because I don't even really think about it anymore. It's just the system we've adopted as a family, and it works and it's just easy. So, but because this is a personalized journey and we all have to figure out what works for us as individuals, I'm going to be sharing some different ideas that you all can, select from, mix and match from. I'll also share a really simple 3-step action plan so that you can get started with this today. And I'll share some thyroid healthy recipe resources and some top meal planning tips, including my number 1 tip for thyroid healthy meal prep. And as Katie mentioned, if you stick around to the end, I do have a special offer for the attendees today. So in case we haven't met, I'm Ginny Mahar. I'm also known as Hypothyroid Chef. I'm a cordon bleu trained chef and cooking instructor. I've been in the food industry in some way pretty much since I was, I think I started at 18. We'll just say that was over 20 years ago. I'm also currently a functional medicine health coach candidate, which I'm loving, very excited to be almost graduating that program. It's been amazing. And I'm also a mom. I love to garden. I love to cook with my husband. I love to bring my kiddo into the kitchen. I'm cooking for kids. I'm a busy working mom. So I get the real world challenges that we all face when we're trying to make these dietary changes. So just to I'll touch on this quickly. I have a ton about this. I know, Paloma, you cover this a lot in your content, and I also have a ton of this this topic on hypothyroidchef.com about just what thyroid healthy eating is. But very quickly, in a nutshell, thyroid healthy eating is gut health supportive, it's nutrient dense, it's anti-inflammatory, and ultimately it's personalized. There really is no cookie cutter diet. There's no one size fits all. So that long-term ultimate goal is a way of eating that addresses your particular food triggers and sensitivities, your preferences, and just, your lifestyle. The 5 pillars of a thyroid healthy diet are, and this is as I define them as Hypothyroid Chef, and this is kind of based on all the various experts and stuff I've worked with and interviewed over the years. Number 1, lots of colorful organic plant foods to get us all those amazing antioxidants and phytonutrients that give us energy and vitality, that make us glow from the inside out. Number 2, clean animal protein that helps us metabolize our thyroid meds. It helps our body function in the way that it needs. It helps us build muscle and do all kinds of important things in the body. So with clean animal protein, we're talking about things like grass-finished beef, wild-caught seafood, pastured poultry and pork, things like that. Number 3, thyroid supportive foods. So I try to incorporate into my cooking and my recipes foods that feature thyroid, like key thyroid supporting nutrients like selenium, zinc, B vitamins, things like that. Number 4, healthy fats. So things like your avocados, your walnuts, your extra virgin olive oil. And number 5, hydration using filtered water so that you can avoid some of those thyroid disrupting chemicals like fluoride and chlorine, commonly found in tap water. So as I said, there is no one size fits all thyroid healthy diet, but there are some common dietary templates that thyroid thrivers use. So kind of starting, from least complex to most complex, first would be just going gluten-free. That's kind of agreed upon as the number 1 dietary trigger for most thyroid patients. Some of us start with gluten, dairy, and sugar-free. Paleo or Whole30, those two are very similar. Some people choose to start with something that's eliminates a little bit broader of a spectrum of potentially problematic foods. And then, the most restrictive, and I think it can also be the most powerful when it's warranted, is the autoimmune protocol, which is one of several different elimination diets, but specifically geared towards lowering autoimmunity and inflammation. So as I said, this is absolutely one of my favorite topics because it's so powerful. And I think it's some of these pragmatic steps, it might seem a little simple or obvious, but some of these pragmatic steps are easy to overlook. And that can be a roadblock for us in like getting where we want to go, which is to be consistent with eating in alliance with our health goals, to be consistent with eating in a way that that helps our body thrive. So for me, this has a really personal roots because I spent the first 4 years of my thyroid journey. I didn't know I had Hashimoto's. I was just under the, standard of care of TSH testing only and treating with levothyroxine. And I ended up being really sick, really tired, really brain fogged, achy, shedding hair, unable to lose weight. I mean, you name it. I had it all for 4 years. And those were the first 4 years of my son's life. And I can never get those back, but I can try to spread the word and awareness and help others do this. So this is part of that. And meal planning, how that factored into my story is it really helped me get my life back, to put it simply. I was doing several things. I found a new doctor. I discovered I actually had Hashimoto's, like the vast majority of hypothyroid patients in the US. And within just like a few months, I was able to lower my antibodies, my thyroid antibodies by half in just a few months. And they continue to either like stay here or kind of drop. I'm kind of like doing this, but for the most part, I feel good. I feel healthy. I went from being on round after round of antibiotics for things like strep throat, laryngitis, tonsillitis, all kinds of stuff. My body just was not thriving. So I went from that to, I haven't needed to take antibiotics for the last 7 years. I feel more or less healthy. Of course, there's ups and downs. Our bodies age as women, our hormones change. There's always, something new to address. But for the most part, I have this toolkit now of things I can use to get myself back to optimal health. And a big part of that puzzle is meal planning. Now, the whole concept of making thyroid healthy dietary changes, I think, can strike fear into a lot of us. And I get it 1,000%. I'm a food lover. I'm a chef. Food, cooking, recipes, it's all I wanted to do from the time I was a little girl. And all of a sudden, I'm talking to this new, more holistically oriented doctor, and she's going, you really should think about an anti-inflammatory diet and cutting out, at least temporarily, gluten, dairy, sugar, grains, soy, alcohol, and it wasn't easy. I will never be a person who's going to sit here and say there's a quick fix and it's easy and it's no big deal. It wasn't easy, but it was 100% worth it. It does, there is that reality that it takes some effort and commitment and planning to stay on track, but that little bit of extra effort and commitment and planning is what makes the work doable and stress-free and enjoyable. And, to sum it up, basically, if you meal plan, that helps you stick to the plan. If you stick to the plan, that's how you can feel better. So it really is as simple and powerful as that. Again, I want to eat well. I want to feel well. I'm a busy working mom, so I don't want to spend all day in the kitchen. And I think my background in professional cooking has, on the one hand, it made that grieving process maybe a little more painful, but on the other hand, it really gave me a lot of tools, a lot of time-saving techniques, cooking hacks, flavor boosting secrets, and things like that have helped me create real world, family friendly, delicious, appealing, thyroid healthy recipes. That this is how I eat. And this is, of course, what I share on Hypothyroid Chef with others. So why meal plan? It really is more than just a grocery list. It means having an answer to that dreaded question, what's for dinner? Because here's the thing, if we leave our food choices up to chance, we really set ourselves up to get to that, that point of it's 5 o'clock, I'm starving, it's been a super long day, I don't have the bandwidth to make a meal, and I forget it. I'm just going to order a pizza. I'm just going to go through the drive-through or whatever it is. So we're really setting ourselves up when we don't do this little bit of extra planning to make unhealthy choices or choices that aren't in alignment with what we know our bodies need and thrive on. And what that ultimately means in a really heartbreaking way is that a lot of thyroid patients out there continue to stay stuck and are burdened with symptoms and have cascading health issues. And, it really can be that powerful. So also meal planning is it's going to save you time and money. It's going to reduce your stress around cooking. It can potentially provide better nutrition because you can, be a little bit more mindful about what's on the menu. And it's just going to set you up for success so that you can keep doing this, keep going, do it consistently, and reach that ultimate goal of feeling better, reducing your symptoms, and just feeling like I'm not so plagued with those residual symptoms that I was before. So which system is right for you? That really is like a personal decision that depends on your health situation, what your healthcare practitioner feels is appropriate and warranted for you at this point. It depends on your life circumstances, your desires, your lifestyle, who you're cooking for, and all those different factors come into play here. So we'll go through these 3 systems and just listen and pay attention to which of these really sparked my interest or my curiosity or my enthusiasm. The first one we'll cover is the weekly routine. The second one is what I call the meal prep method. And the third is the meal plan method. And this picture here, a lot of us have seen stuff like this on Instagram or Pinterest. This is an example of the meal prep method where somebody's got, all these different meals lined up, ready to go. And someone might look at this and think, this is the solution of all solutions. This is speaking to me. And another person might go, that's way too repetitive. I don't want to eat the same thing 3 or 4 or 5 times in a week. So what are some other options? So we will cover all of those. The first one is the weekly routine. And this is an answer to that question. How do I feed myself and my family without making separate meals? Nobody, not even a chef, wants to make 2 dinners every night. So what I really like about the weekly routine, I think it's a great starting point. The general idea is that you've got a template. And that could be a 1-week template. It could be a 2-week template. It could be a month-long template, but you've got this menu that you kind of just play on repeat. And it's made of those familiar favorites that you know how to make it. You don't have to get out a recipe. You know what you need on your grocery list and can just jot it down from memory. Doesn't take a lot of bandwidth. And it's just a very doable, easy, family-friendly way to put thyroid-healthy meals on the table over and over. I think some of the pros of the weekly routine approach are that it's that no-brainer, stress-free approach. It doesn't take a whole lot of mental bandwidth to, put your favorite, fish taco recipe or salad recipe or whatever it is on the table when you've made it over and over again. It can be really easy to tweak. You can tweak it for seasonality. You can tweak it to suit your schedule. Very family friendly. I know, my kiddo likes to try new things, but he also likes a lot of those familiar, repeat dinners that he can get excited about. He knows what they are. And I think it can also be really good for busy working people who still want a freshly prepared hot meal on the table. Without, feeling like it's just going to take too much time and energy to pull that off. And I think it's good for people who love routine. For people who don't love routine, it can be a little repetitive, a little bit boring, depending on how you do it. I couldn't do a 7-day template. Someone else, that may be the ideal answer for them. And of course you can adapt this, personalize it to suit your needs. But, for people who want a little bit more variety, it may not be the best approach. And that less variety, say you're doing like a 1-week template, you might ultimately over time, if you're eating those things over and over and over again, we want diversity. We want diversity of nutrients. We want diversity of flavors and textures and colors that keep us excited about our food and feeling joyful about our food. And so this may kind of minimize some of that variety of flavors, textures, and nutrients. So number 2 is the meal prep method. And this is the answer to that question. How do I stick to the plan with minimal effort? I want to do the least amount of cooking possible. I don't like to cook. I don't really care. It's just fuel to me. I need something that is going to keep me feeling healthy, but that I can just kind of grab, go, walk out the door, or open the fridge and have something ready to eat immediately. So this is kind of like that first slide we saw with these, pre-built meals all packaged up and ready to go. That's kind of what people call, meal prep basically. And there are a couple ways to do it. Now you can build those identical meals that have the same, 1 cup of cauliflower rice and 4 ounces of chicken and, a cup of Brussels sprouts or whatever it is. Or you can do big batches or containers of components that you can then mix and match. So that's a nice way to kind of give yourself some flexibility and variety with the meal prep method. Like here's this example where somebody's grilled some chicken, they've got their green beans ready to go. If you eat gluten-free grains, you could do a batch of white rice or quinoa. They've got their beans, looks like they made a sauce, some broccoli, some hummus. You could make a batch of homemade salad dressing and, all different kinds of things that you can just have those simple components, like a sheet pan of roasted sweet potatoes, for example, and just mix and match that way, or build those pre-built, ready to go, grab and go meals. So some of the pros of this method, it's great. You really just, a lot of people maybe spend one day cooking and eat all week. They just, they get their groceries on Sunday, they come home, they do the prep, they're done. That's it. And they've got food for the whole week. That can be really appealing to some people. It can be great for those of us doing a lot of travel, or, we need meals to take to work. Really good for busy individuals. It can be really helpful for those on more restrictive diets, like the AIP, for example, where you have, like, especially when you're doing it for the first time, it's a lot to learn. There's a lot of restrictions, and it's very easy to get caught in that trap of, I don't have anything to eat and I can't eat what's being served or what my, spouse brought home, or what am I going to do now? It can be really helpful for that. For anyone who's, doing portion control, wants to weigh their meals. Very easy to do that with this method. It's great for people who don't want to cook and who enjoy leftovers, or at least don't mind them. And some of the cons of that is, of course, it can get repetitive and boring. I don't find this to be a super family-friendly method personally, but, it depends on the family, who knows. It can require a lot of containers, which might be a deterrent if you've got limited space or just don't want to make the investment for something you're not sure you're really going to like. And pre-made food, like, let's face it, these photos are taken on day one, immediately after the food was prepared. Now by day 3 or 4, they're probably not looking so fresh, and we eat with our eyes. That's like part of the enjoyment of food, and gets our digestive juices flowing and our mouths watering and all that stuff. So, just one thing to keep in mind. Okay, so last method we'll cover, this is what I call the meal plan method, and it's the answer to the question, how do I make thyroid healthy eating my new normal? And it's kind of also what I call like the hypothyroid chef method, because this is what me and my family have been doing for the last 7 years. It's just really become rote, and I find it very flexible and doable. So it's just really good for variety, flexibility. It's great for families. And you can kind of combine a little bit from all 3 systems here. So the basic idea is that you've got 2 different lists, one for your recipes and one for your groceries. Now, for our family of 3, what we found is that if we want to shop once a week, what we try to do is 4 main dishes, 2 breakfasts, and 1 snack or dessert on our weekly menu and shopping list. I also really like having this collection place to keep track of recipe ideas, things I want to try, stuff I saw online, maybe something my son asked me to make, or something I've just been craving. Maybe the garden's full of beets I need to use up, or something like that. So really just simple organizational hack is to have that collection place for ideas, so that when it comes time to make your weekly menu and shopping list and go to the store, you've already got like some creative ideas ready to get those wheels turning. And before you know it, boom, you've got your menu lined out, you've got your shopping list done. And then, of course, the other list is just the running grocery list, very easy to keep track of pantry items that you use up. And I find that I'll show you what it looks like at our house in the next slide. But I really find that categorizing the shopping list is another one of those things where it's like, it takes a little bit of extra time on the front end, but it will save you triple that at the store. It's personally, I am like the one who's doing the 17 laps around the grocery store if I don't have a categorized list, especially when, it's long. So, taking that little extra time to categorize your shopping list can be really helpful. So yeah, this is what it looks like at our house. I stuck this little magnetic board inside one of our kitchen cupboards. I got my dry erase here, and then I have 2 dry erase boards. So this is our running grocery list where, we've put our extra virgin olive oil and our quinoa and our bacon and those things that we kind of just try to always have on hand, keep that on our running list. And then over here, I've got things to make, though. This is what I've already shopped for. So I can come to this and go, oh yeah, we better make those fish tacos tonight because we need to use up that fresh fish. I've also got my little ideas list here with, things that sound good, I've been craving or whatever, just need to be used up. So yeah, it's as simple as that. And then personally, I like to write out my shopping list by hand when I categorize it. So these are magnetic. I can just take them down. I grab a pencil in my notebook, make a list, and boom, like I'm in and out of the grocery store in like 45 minutes. So just some tips around that. When inspiration strikes, collect it. We're all so busy, and a lot of us are dealing with stuff like brain fog, and, there's memory impacts of thyroid issues. Like I really love and need that list of, oh yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to making next week. So it just helps the menu planning process go that much faster. Also, I think vary your proteins, vary your cuisines, vary your spice levels. I'm certainly guilty of making the weekly menu and not realizing it's got, 4 chicken dishes on it. And by the end of the week, we're all like pretty burnout on chicken. So, just keeping that variety in mind. Also, I always try to incorporate 1, maybe 2 big batch recipes into that weekly menu because, say it's cooler weather, I can make a big pot of soup on Sunday night, and that's going to make 8 to 10 servings. I've got numerous lunches. We maybe even have 1 dinner of leftovers where we don't have to cook anything. That's always nice. But those big batch recipes really help us start the week with some ready to eat and prepared food that's ready to go. One tip, don't over plan. Another thing I've learned the hard way, is trying to put 10 things on a weekly menu shopping list and have all that food in the fridge. It ends up going bad before we can use it up. The shopping trip is way overwhelming and expensive and way too many bags of groceries at once, So I really try to leave space in there for 1 kitchen sink night. So after we've made everything on our menu, there's another night where it's like, oh, we've got these greens to use up from our, we do like a subscription from a local farm. We got to use these greens up. Let's do a salad. There's a little bit of that leftover chicken. There's half an avocado. I made some salad dressing earlier in the week. You just throw together like a kitchen sink salad, or even you could use your favorite gluten-free or grain-free pasta. If you do that, make a kitchen sink pasta. And then for us, personally, we like to have maybe 1 night a week where we dine out, order out, or take a night off cooking. So that's what works for us. And of course, you can, tweak all of these methods to suit your needs. But my final tip that I'll share is I do always try to shoot for a mix of new recipes and old favorites. Now, I personally love to try new recipes, but it does take more mental bandwidth. I have to get a recipe out. I don't know what I'm looking for. I've never made this. I can't do it on autopilot. And that's really fun for me on a Saturday. It's less fun for me at the end of a long, Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday during the work week. So I try to, have those easy, familiar favorites mixed in with a couple new things to try. Or of course, I do a lot of recipe testing too. So just some things to keep in mind. But yeah, which option is right for you? I'd love to hear about it in the comments if you want to share. I can't see them right now, but it's just all about what sparks joy in you, what sparks enthusiasm, what feels like this is the right fit for me. And this is, I really would like to try this. So my number one tip for everyone with this, whether you meal plan or not, just very simple, is one day a week. We'll just say Sunday in like a typical, week. Try to do a little bit of extra cooking. Make that big batch recipe. Make the breakfast hash that makes 4 to 5 servings. Make the double pot of soup. Whip up a big batch of your favorite salad dressing in the summertime. Just a little, like an hour even of extra cooking. Even that, chop up the sweet potatoes and roast them. Have a container of sweet potatoes that you could throw into a breakfast or any kind of, reheated lunch throughout the week. And what you do by doing that, and by putting some, money in the bank, is what I, like the stuff in the freezer and the fridge. I'm like, that is money in the bank. That is going to start your week off right. It's going to give you an instant win. When Monday morning rolls around, you're like, I got this. I got my breakfast ready to go. I don't have to think about it. I'm not stressed out. I feel good about and proud of myself for, sticking to my goals. And when you make that one healthy choice and you have that one small win, it makes it easy to attach it and link it to your next small win and your next small win and your next small win, to the point where you're like, okay, I got through the whole week and I'm feeling better and I want to keep this up. So I'm going to keep doing these little tricks that help us, make this doable. And most importantly, just to keep going with it so that we can have those long-term results. This isn't a 30-day program. It's really about feeling good, learning about our health, and making healthy changes for life so that we can enjoy optimal health forever and ever. So my little 3-step action plan, not rocket science, very simple. 1, pick your system. 2, do your recipe roundup. And 3, do your shopping and your meal prep. And it's pretty much as easy as that. One question you might be wondering, okay, where do I find thyroid healthy recipes? Obviously, as hypothyroid chef, that's, most of what I specialize in. I have a free recipe blog at hypothyroidchef.com. And I would say, as a baseline, all of my recipes are gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, and refined sugar-free, except for the rare exception. And I always mention that. Also, I specialize in paleo, AIP, and low carb. And all my recipes, I don't know if you can see this, but all my recipes are tagged with those diets and categorized as well to make it really easy to look up. Of course, Paloma, we love Paloma. Their app is amazing. I've got recipes in there. They feature lots of different amazing thyroid healthy bloggers, just all kinds of different experts who are contributing recipes to the app. So that's another great resource I, of course, want to be sure to mention. So we'll wrap it up with my top 3 meal planning tips. Number 1, talk with your family about your dietary changes. It can be easy to want to go it alone, to want to just do this in private. I don't want to inconvenience anyone. I don't want to ruffle feathers. I got this myself. And, that can be something that can really stand in our way of doing this consistently and for the long haul. And I think getting your family involved gives them a really great opportunity to have that understanding and support around your dietary goals. So definitely communicate. Don't try to hide, your health goals from the people that you love and care about, or the people that you share meals with. Number 2, do some weekend food prep. As we talked about, just that little bit of extra cooking one day a week to put some ready to eat foods in the fridge or freezer can just really set you up for a smooth and successful week. And then, of course, find your inspiration resources. So whether it's my recipes, whether it's a new paleo cookbook, whether you have a favorite cooking app or are using the Paloma app, there's so many great resources out there, and they make meal planning fun. So, subscribing to the email list, installing the app on your phone, whatever it is, it like set yourself up with those inspiration sources to keep you excited about what to eat and full of ideas about what to put on your menu. So keep calm and make a meal plan. I know it can be very overwhelming and intimidating, especially at first. And I think especially at first, this is one of those areas where that little bit of extra planning can really, really help us. And one thing I always say is, food isn't the only piece of the healing puzzle, but it is an essential piece. And it's something that people need some tools with, they need some help with. So I hope that this has helped you all. I do want to share my special offer with everyone here today. I'm offering 25% off my Thyroid-healthy meal plan Kickstart. If you feel like this is something you would personally like me to help you with, the discount code is Paloma Pals, and that includes a 50 recipe e-cookbook called the Thyroid-healthy Everyday e-cookbook, done for you seasonal meal plans, done for you shopping lists. I put together a step-by-step roadmap about where to start, how to get from where you are now to, making thyroid healthy eating your new normal. There's a food sensitivity tracker that allows you to use this opportunity to discover those personal dietary needs and sensitivities. And then, of course, there's a mini course on thyroid healthy eating that gives you kind of like the quick and dirty, no fluff, no, right to the point. This is what thyroid healthy eating is. This is why it's important. And this is how we do it. So 25% off that with the code Paloma Pals. And you can find that on hypothyroidchef.com/kickstart. So anyway, I hope that's been helpful for everyone. I know, this has been so powerful and life-changing for me, and it is something that people need help with. So, I hope this has, here we go. I hope it's inspired you and helped you, see how this can work, see how it can be doable, and I hope it's encouraged you to believe like this is possible for you. And if you can do this, with, optimized medication and good medical help and all that stuff, if you can do this, food is a big piece. There's some major rewards that can happen. So.
Thanks, Ginny. That was awesome and super helpful. I've included the link in the chat for the discount code and the link to the program so people can get it there. And of course, we'll include it in an email after this event. We've had a couple of questions if you don't mind answering them. And just a quick shout out, the image you have of the Paloma Health app, the image on it of your raspberry cream gels, I think that's what they're called, those and your tart cherry gels are some of my favorites of your recipes. So everyone should try them. One of our questions is, if you've never meal planned before, you're sort of just like winging it when you eat, what's a good place to start? Because planning a whole week maybe seems a little bit overwhelming. Do you have any recommendations for starting with just dinner or otherwise?
Yeah, I think starting with just dinner can be great. I also think if I really wanted to keep it simple right off the bat, I was just starting out, I would probably go with the meal prep method and just make some very basic, like I'm going to grill the chicken. I'm going to blanch the green beans. I'm going to cook up some cauliflower rice. I'm going to roast some sweet potatoes and maybe I'll make like a green herb sauce, like a chimichurri or something, I would probably start with that just so I had something. And then maybe you don't have to make the whole week's worth of meals. Maybe you just make enough for like a couple days. And then you can build on that, so you do that, say on a Sunday, you've got dinner Sunday night, you've got meals, say Monday and Tuesday. By Tuesday, you haven't had to do any more cooking. You're like, okay, I can, you know what? I'm going to whip up some roasted beets. I'm going to wash these really nice greens I got, and have just like, I keep them in my salad spinner and just have that in the fridge. So it's like, boom, salad. What else do I got? Plop it in. Salad's done. I eat that for breakfast or lunch. So I hope that kind of helps.
I think that's probably helpful. Also, that's a good nod to, we have a recording of Ginny doing Thyroid-healthy breakfast ideas. I know you're a big proponent of, savory breakfasts and, nutrient density early in the morning. We obviously want people to go to your website and or our app to get your recipes, but people are curious where you get inspiration. I don't know if there's bloggers or if you're on Pinterest, or where are you finding inspiration for your recipes?
Oh, that's such a fun question. I have some very favorite recipe bloggers, and I know you've worked with some of them. Allison Morris is great. She's Food by Mars. Kate J of Healing Family Eats is an AIP coach, and she's also a chef, and she and I are just food buddies, and we totally I swear I'm like her biggest fan. And then, I subscribe to different newsletters. I'm like, I'm always looking for inspiration, because not only am I doing this for my family, I'm trying to serve this community. So I really have I subscribe to the New York Times cooking app. That's like the #1 food section in the country. And they have so many recipes, lots of creative, ethnic foods, recipes, pairings you wouldn't think of. So I get a lot of inspiration from all kinds of places. And I have way too many cookbooks, just far too many. So I definitely have my favorites that I pull down a lot and take inspiration from too.
Yep. We see your bookshelf behind you. I don't know how many of those are cookbooks, but
they're over here. It's like a whole shelf of just all cookbooks. Yeah.
Diane is wondering, how long did it take you to start feeling better after you changed your diet?
Yeah. So that's, I don't want to give a simple answer when it was a complex answer, but here was what happened. I found a new doctor. She was immediately like, we're going to do root cause testing, micronutrient deficiencies, infections, your gut flora. We're going to test that. There's numerous different things. For some people, it might be mold or heavy metals. We're going to do that. We're going to do a complete thyroid panel, look at how your meds are doing. She helped me optimize my medication. But here's the thing. The first thing she talked about with me, and the first change I made immediately before, doing any of the tests, getting any of the results, was food. And it really, the way she put it was the anti-inflammatory diet. And that was, I would say like a week, if that, of feeling better. I think one of the great things about that way of eating that I found is I eat a lot more produce. Really, like a meal for me is like some kind of animal protein, some kind of healthy fat, and 2 or 3 different kinds of vegetables. And so just getting that nutrition and eating things that weren't bogging down my gut issues and things like that immediately helped me feel better, helped me feel less bloated and more energized. But the biggest thing we found from the testing within like the first couple weeks was that I had gut dysbiosis, or an overgrowth of dysbiotic gut flora, and very common amongst Hashimoto's patients. And that was really when it was like, that was the moment when we started treating that. It was like 48 hours. That was the life-changing hypothyroid chef is born moment of, I haven't had energy for 4 years. And it's like somebody just flicked the light switch back on inside me as soon as we started treating this. So very soon. But the big game changer for me, it was looking at that complete, holistic, complex picture. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably really helpful. And Bellamy has a question. Oh, it just scrolled away. Is animal protein best for thyroid health? I'm vegetarian and I eat tofu and tempeh regularly.
Yeah, so I'm not a nutritionist. I have worked with several amazing nutritionists through Hypothyroid Chef, my podcast, and my previous website, Thyroid Refresh. And so I'm always speaking from like, I like to read all the books and listen to all the experts and kind of take like, what's the common core? What's everyone sort of agreeing on? And here's the thing with vegan and vegetarian diets. It's a personal choice and an ethical choice. And, respect for that. And we have to leave room for that. However, I also feel like compelled to share that, most of the experts I've, read, worked with personally, et cetera, talk about the problem with vegan and vegetarian diets being so heavy on soy, which is a goitrogenic food that does not, goitrogenic meaning it has some thyroid inhibiting properties. And those thyroid inhibiting properties, unlike other goitrogenic foods like cruciferous vegetables, those goitrogenic properties do not go away when it's cooked. And, personally, I've worked with and come across people who have said, I had to go back to animal protein to feel better. I've also met people who have said, I switched to plant-based 100% and I feel way better. So, I'm not going to give personalized advice, obviously, but I always encourage people who are committed to, vegan or vegetarian eating to work one-on-one with a nutritionist to make sure you're getting all the nutrients you need. Because it isn't just the soy issue. There's a lot of thyroid specific nutrients in animal protein that our thyroid function thrives on, like tyrosine and B vitamins and things like that, I think it can be really helpful to work with an expert one-on-one to make sure you are getting what you need to thrive and to not, end up with compounding issues.
And to follow up to that, we have an excellent thyroid nutritionist at Paloma who can work with you to start to customize a meal plan or help you identify some of your sensitivities, this sort of thing. Because to Ginny's point, it can be a bit overwhelming. Which is a question that Bree just sent. We're getting a lot of questions. I'm trying to keep up with them now in the chat. Bree says, I'm a huge foodie and I love variety. I feel like a lot of what I make is hit or miss. Do you have any tips for avoiding feeling discouraged when something doesn't turn out how you expected? I might add on to that, especially if you're batch cooking and now you have a week's worth of something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think some of that, comes with experience. One of the things I just did a show, a podcast with Eileen Laird on cooking with kids. And I said, one of the first things I really tried to teach James, because I'm like, I love science. I love that experimentation. And I've learned at this point in my life how much of a strength that can be to say, it's okay to fail. It's okay if we make a mess. Now, of course, the reality is we don't want to waste money on food. We don't want to go hungry and be like, well, that was a flop. But as a chef with cooking, as opposed to baking, I'm like not the best baker. That's why, there's two, like at culinary school, it's like the bakers are over here and the cooks are over here and I am a cook. And one of the things I love about that is that it can almost always be fixed. So if it's bland, I think, I'm like the queen of like very simple tips that are really important too. One thing I think a lot of people overlook in their cooking is they don't stop at the end to taste and finish a dish. If you follow a recipe to the T, and I do this all the time because I love the art form or the like model of recipes, and I like testing them and measuring, leveling the tablespoon and seeing like, how does this actually turn out? it is rare that I test a recipe like that, like someone else's recipe, and get to the end and don't go, I got to doctor this up a little bit. I want a little salt. I want a little hot sauce. I want a little sesame oil or whatever it is, to get it to where I want it to be. So I think one of the things I've learned in like cooking in restaurant kitchens and making stuff and being like in the pressure cooker of restaurant kitchens is don't freak out. It can almost always be fixed. Don't throw it out. You know, even like a soup, if you oversalt it, you can put a potato in there and simmer it for like 20 minutes and that potato will pull a lot of the salt out. You know, and it's hard to just sum up like, well, here's my 15 tips about how to fix a dish. But I think, you know, just knowing that everybody, including me, we're not going to nail it the first time. Give yourself that 5 minutes at the end to be like, okay, how is this? Am I happy with it? Does it need something, you know? And those 3 basic flavor components are acid, salt, and fat. So those are like, you know, usually one of those things is what it needs to get those flavors to pop.
That potato tip might be my big takeaway from the night. I'm a chronic oversalter, so that's super helpful. We've got a couple questions. I'm going to combine them. One is, how did you find someone to test all of those things you just spoke about? And then another question is, did you see a naturopath or an MD when you were, you know, sort of starting this journey? I know that you have a pretty, you know, holistic care team made up of different doctors and different experts. I know we're a little bit off meal planning, but maybe you can talk a bit about, you know, who's supporting you through your thyroid healing journey.
Yeah, I'll answer that question first because I'm not sure I heard the first question right. But yeah, so I have, you know, my MD, and I try to work with my MD to get as much thyroid testing done as I can. And she's been, you know, cooperative. But I have my like new doctor that I really go to for like, I've learned so much from her, and she's my root cause detective. She's the one I go to and I'm like, okay, you know, it's like whack-a-mole, like you're cruising along and then why is my hair falling out again? Let's do some testing. You know, she's the detective I go to, and she's a NMD. So she's a medical doctor and a naturopath both. And that is just the best option I was able to find. And we have a great relationship. She's one of my biggest fans and I'm one of her biggest fans. And, you know, we really over the years have forged a wonderful collaborative relationship. And I think what I have enjoyed most about her philosophy, I don't know if it's this way with all naturopaths, but that first appointment was an hour and a half long, and she wanted to hear what I thought and what I felt in my gut. Does that resonate with you, Ginny? Like, you know, like my input mattered. I got like choked up in her office after being dismissed for so long and told, you're fine. Your TSH is normal. It's all in your head. You're just getting older. Eat less, exercise more, you know, all the things that we hear. It was like, so she really taught me to listen to my gut, you know, work with her, defer to her medical expertise, and also have a voice in this collaborative relationship. And that's been very good for me. But I know, you know, Paloma obviously I always point people your way. It's just, there's so many wonderful doctors there who, you know, have that more functional or holistic philosophy of care.
Yeah, something we're really proud of is, you know, matching people with a doctor at Paloma that's a good fit for them. We have a doctor match guarantee. So if the first doctor you meet with isn't the right match for you, we're going to get you a second appointment with another doctor at no cost to you, so that you end up with someone that, you know, it feels like a good fit, because it's super discouraging to go to the doctor and have the experience you said where it feels like no one, you know, someone's not listening to you. The first half of that question that I might have mumbled was, how did you find your naturopath? Like, where did you look to find this doctor?
That was a whole part of the process. And I've written about that on my blog, like how to find a good thyroid doctor. And, you know, I think put the power of community to work, put the power of social media to work. Hey, I live in Pensacola, and I'm looking, does anybody have somebody, they like working with as a thyroid doctor? I asked around for a long time and I kept hearing the same name over and over. And when I made the first appointment, it was a 2-month wait to get in, so that it took some time, and it definitely took my own detective work just to find her and go, yeah, I think this is who I want to talk to.
Yep, that's helpful. I know Thyroid Change also has an excellent resource that's entirely crowdsourced by thyroid patients who are sharing doctors that they like in their states and globally, but I think most of us are in the US. We have 2 minutes left. So last question, I think it's an easy one, but you mentioned filtered water as a pillar of thyroid healthy eating. Do you have a water filter that you can recommend or that you particularly like?
Yeah. So full disclosure, I use an AquaTrue, which is a reverse osmosis countertop. And that was what I chose because we didn't have room under our sink for and we already had like a filter, but it wasn't taking out all I wanted it to. So I decided to try this. I've had it for a few years. I really like it. Haven't had any problems with it. The trouble with something like that is it can be really cost prohibitive. I can't remember what I paid. It was like $350. So it was an investment. Like I thought about it, researched it, I was like, this better be the one. And it's been great. But when people ask me that, I really like Approac water filters out of Boulder, Colorado, because I think they come at a more accessible price point. They make pitchers and countertop filters that do remove chlorine and fluoride. A lot of like your, Brita pitchers and stuff from Target and all that, like a lot of those don't remove those things. So it takes a little bit of a different filter, I guess. And I just think they're a great company. They do a ton of great like social support of different organizations that support clean water and things like that. And I really, really like Approac. And I have a couple of their products they make a travel water bottle that has a filter in it, which is great if you've got a trip coming up and you're going to be like in a hotel and you want your water bottle, but you don't want to be filling it up like in the tap. It's got a filter in it. So, and it even comes with like a backcountry one. I don't know if that matters to anybody else, but me and our family here in Montana, where they make a filter, you can actually fill it out of a stream and drink through this like special filter straw in your water bottle.
Ginny, thank you so much for really helpful information, for answering so many questions. And thank you to all of you that have joined us tonight. Like we said, this will be available for replay and we will send it out to each of you via email. We will include Ginny's offering to us, discount code. And we will see you hopefully next month. We are talking about the MTHFR gene with 2 awesome doctors. So keep an eye on your inbox for an invite to that. And we will see you all next time.
Thank you, Katie. And thank you everybody for joining us today.